Mark chapter 8. In those days the multitude being very great, and having had nothing to eat, Jesus called his disciples and said to them, I have compassion on the multitude, because they have now been with me 3 days, and have had nothing to eat. And if I send them away fasting to their own houses, they will faint along the way, for many of them came from far away. And his disciples answered him, Where can a man satisfy these men with bread here in the wilderness? And he asked them, How many loaves do you have? And they said, 7. And he commanded the people to sit down on the ground. And he took the 7 loaves, and gave thanks, and broke them, and gave to his disciples to set before them. And they set them before the people. And they had a few small fish, and he blessed and commanded to set these also before them. So they ate and were filled, and they took up the broken pieces that were left, 7 baskets. And those that had eaten were about 4,000, and he sent them away. And immediately he entered into a ship with his disciples, and came into the parts of Dalmanutha. And the Pharisees came out and began to question with him, seeking from him a sign from heaven, tempting him. And he sighed deeply in his spirit, and said, Why does this generation seek after a sign? Surely I say to you, there shall not be a sign be given to this generation. And he left them, and entered into the ship again, and departed to the other side. Now the disciples had forgotten to take bread, neither had they in the ship with them more than 1 loaf. And he instructed them, saying, Take heed, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees, and of the leaven of Herod. And they reasoned among themselves, saying, It is because we have no bread. And when Jesus understood their thoughts, he said to them, Why do you reason, because you have no bread? Don't you perceive yet, or understand? Are your hearts still hardened? Having eyes you do not see, and having ears you do not hear? And do you not remember? When I broke the 5 loaves among 5,000, how many baskets full of fragments did you pick up? They said to him, 12. And when the 7 among 4,000, how many baskets full of fragments did you pick up? And they said, 7. And he said to them, How is it that you do not understand? And he came to Bethsaida, and they brought a blind man to him, and asked him to touch him. And he took the blind man by the hand, and led him out of the town. And when he had spit on his eyes, and put his hands on him, he asked him if he saw anything. And he looked up, and said, I see men as trees walking. After that he put his hands again on his eyes, and made him look up, and he was restored, and saw every man clearly. And he sent him away to his house, saying, Neither go into the town, or tell this to any in the town. And Jesus went out and his disciples into the towns of Caesarea Philippi. And by the way he asked his disciples, saying to them, Whom do men say that I am? And they answered, John the Baptist, but some say, Elijah, and others, one of the prophets. And he said to them, But whom do you say that I am? And Peter answered and said to him, You are the Christ. And he instructed them that they should tell no man of him. And he began to teach them that the Son of Man must suffer many things, and be rejected by the elders, and by the chief priests and scribes, and be killed, and after 3 days rise again. And he spoke that saying openly. And Peter took him and began to rebuke him. But when he had turned around and looked on his disciples, he rebuked Peter, saying, Get behind me, Satan, for you savor not the things that are of God, but the things that are of men. And when he had called the people to him with his disciples also, he said to them, Whoever will come after me, let him deny himself, and take up his cross, and follow me. For whoever will save his life shall lose it. But whoever shall lose his life for my sake and the gospel's, the same shall save it. For what shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Or what shall a man give in exchange for his soul? Whoever therefore shall be ashamed of me and of my words in this adulterous and sinful generation, of him also shall the Son of Man be ashamed when he comes in the glory of his Father with the holy angels.